Hi, and welcome along to AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that have been linked with a January transfer move to Arsenal. Starting off today with Lars Bender. Now, anybody who would have watched AFTV Transfer Daily throughout the summer would have known that, along with players like Benzema, this was a guy whose name came up practically every single day. The Lars Bender, of course, plays for Bayer Leverkusen over there in Germany. He's 26 years of age now. Arsenal seem to have been after this guy now for an absolute age, and we still haven't signed him. We still haven't gone out there and signed him. But for some reason, a lot of the outlets today seem to think that Arsenal are in for him in this transfer window. And a lot of that is based off of quotes from the chairman of Bayer Leverkusen, Michael Schad, who was asked about, whether they can hold on to their top players at Bayer Leverkusen. They've got a few of those now, of course, Lars Bender being one of those. And his quotes are these. He said, Leverkusen can't be so arrogant as to say that we are creating world stars and they will retire here. If we're able to create a world star or a top player, then one day this player wants to play for one of the top clubs. Of course, we have to sell him. And because of those rumours now, or because of what he said, should I say, all of a sudden now everybody's linking Lars Bender once again with Arsenal. There's been no solid link. There's been no moves by Arsenal from what we can see. Again, in the defensive midfielder position, I just can't see Arsenal moving in for another defensive midfielder now that we've bought Mohamed El Nene. However, could it possibly be? I mean, we were chasing Leverkusen hard for Lars Bender last year. We did make an offer for him, which was turned down. Could Arsenal be going back in for Bender? He would be a perfect fit for Arsenal. And is Bender the right guy for Arsenal? It seems to be for age. Sometimes when you've been after a player for ages and it just hasn't happened, maybe it's just not meant to be. But Lars Bender, once again, being linked today. What do you guys think? Lars Bender, should we go and get a player like Lars Bender? Because all the reports that we've heard about Mohamed El Nene is that he's sort of defensive midfielder, stroke box to box, whereas Lars Bender, we know, is a definite defensive midfielder. Do we still need to go and get a player like Lars Bender, or do we have to look at it and say, listen, we've still got Coquelin to come back, and we've got this guy now, Mohamed El Nene, problem solved in that area? I don't know what you guys think about that. Another guy we've been linking to, again, this guy, Granit Xhaka. His name comes up practically every single day of the transfer window. 23 years of age, plays for Borussia Mönchengladbach, highly, highly thought of. There's been, fees being bandied about of 30 million plus, which I just can't see Arsenal paying. He's a Swiss player, so he'll know El Nene. They both used to play at Basel, and he jokingly said yesterday that we were sort of doing like a little Q&A, and they was asking him about Arsenal, and he, of course, also wears the number 34, which Francis Coquelin wears at Arsenal. And he jokingly said yesterday, yeah, I've spoken to Coquelin about taking that 34 shirt when I get to Arsenal. It was a joke. However, you know what the newspapers are like. Although they cite it as a joke, they still cite it as clear evidence that, Arsenal are interested in him. And I think there is some sort of interest from Arsenal at the moment in this guy. They are interested in him. However, whether they'll buy him, I certainly don't think that they're going to move in to buy him now, even though his name's been mentioned every single day. But there seems to be some interest from Arsenal in Xhaka, and it's being played out every single day. I can see this one continuing on until the end of the transfer window. New name on the block today. This guy here. His name is Goncalo Guedes. He plays for Benfica. 19 years of age. He's a winger. Has a release clause. Some of these release clauses nowadays. His one, £45 million. I mean, he is a very talented player. He's one of them. I mean, Benfica at the moment have got some really, really good players, and he's one of them. And we were being told that Luis Belmonte, who's Portuguese also, and of course used to play for Arsenal, he's now one of Arsenal's scouts, has been scouting Guedes on a regular basis, and is recommending to Arsenal, you know what, check this kid out. He is looking like the real deal. And as I said, quite a few others over there at Benfica. But this guy Guedes being linked heavily today with a move to Arsenal, so we're going to have to keep a lookout for this and see if it hots up at all between now and the end of the transfer window. Would, of course, be very expensive. I mean, all right, listen, sometimes these release clauses, they can be in there. It doesn't mean that the teams are going to pay them. But if he's got a release clause or a buyout clause or whatever you want to call it for £45 million, you can bet your money that he's going to be very, very expensive if Arsenal try to move him, because he is only 19 years of age. Finally, Yarmelenko, again being linked with Arsenal today. This guy is a very, very good player. Being linked with a move away from Dynamo Kiev. He's only 26 still, even though he seems to have been playing for such a long time. Important player for his country, Ukraine. Important player for Dynamo Kiev. Transfer Market Web claimed that Arsenal are set to make a bid for him. We know that other clubs like Everton, for instance, are very interested in him. He's running down his contract at the moment. It's coming towards the end, so he will be available. Whether he goes now or whether he goes in the summer is really the question of what's going to happen. But he is a very, very good player. Do Arsenal need a player like Yarmelenko, though? That's the thing. Or is it one of those where Wenger looks on it and says, you know what, special talent? You know Wenger's policy on that. If he deems it as a player of special talent that will only enhance the team, he just goes out. Well, he might just go out there and get him. But I don't know. I'm not sure. Even though this rumor's been hot since the start of the January transfer window on Yarmelenko, although I think he is available because there's a lot of other Premier League clubs also looking at him. I'm not 100% sure that Arsenal will move in to try and get Yarmelenko, but again, we'll have to keep a lookout on this one and see what happens. Let's get into some of your comments, see what you guys have had to say. Costa D3 says, I don't understand how you think, he's talking to me now, how you think Theo is very good at finishing. He's so frustrating. He'll miss so many sitters and then score from his more difficult opportunities. I do think Theo Walcott is a good finisher. He is a good finisher. And again, as I said yesterday, with Theo Walcott throughout his career, and you can have a look at the video that I did yesterday. We did a video talking about Theo and his 10 years at Arsenal. It's injuries that have really blighted this guy. He could have been the real deal. He still has an opportunity to be the real deal over the next, say, 4 to 5 years at Arsenal. But he can be a devastating player. He really can. Ryan B01 says, I knew Aubameyang from Saint Etienne. He was sick even back then. Thanks, Robbie. You're so wrong. This is what I'm asking about Aubameyang. You know, the prices we're being told, 53 million. Is he worth that? Is he world class? Listen, he's having a great season. The seasons he's had before they've been good, but he hasn't been, you know, fantastic. They've been good. Now, what I'm asking the question is this guy worth £53 million? That's the sort of money that's been quoted for him. And it's so easy sometimes when you see a player that you don't see week in, week out, and he's got, you know, a fantastic. I mean, listen, if Charlie Austin, for instance, yeah, and I'm not saying Aubameyang, before you say this, I'm not saying that Charlie Austin is on the same level to Aubameyang, but I'm just giving you this as an example. If Charlie Austin, who just went to Southampton for £4 million, who scored 18 goals last season in the Premier League, if Charlie Austin was playing in Portugal or was playing in, I don't know, one of those leagues, Serie A, scored 18 goals, was called Charlie Ostino, we'd all be getting excited. Oh, this guy. You know, sometimes I think that we get overexcited on some of the foreign names, think they're better than they actually are. I'm not saying this with Aubameyang. I've seen this guy play in the flesh. I really, really like him. I think at Arsenal he would be a fantastic player, but I'm not sure if he's the real deal yet. I really ain't. Devon Medard says Theo can be an Aubameyang. You're saying that Theo can be a top scorer in Europe. He says, right? And again, as I said, Aubameyang is having a great season, right? He's having a fantastic season this season. But you know what? In years gone by, he's just been building up. Why can't Theo, if Theo can stay fit, be as good as a player like Aubameyang? Because they're very, very similar in the way in which they play. As I said yesterday, they're all about pace, both of them, and finishing. That's what they're both about. At the moment, Aubameyang's doing it a lot better than Theo. That is for sure. Zich says, first and foremost, we've signed El Neni. We will not sign anyone else this transfer window. And I'm tired of people just listing off big name players that will not move. Just because they cost a lot doesn't mean they will suit the club. Just look at the defenders at Manchester City without company, all their expensive flops, and also look at the expensive flops at Manchester United. Those are great points. Great points. Again, as I said, a lot of times the big names, you know, Manchester City went out, and I was reading yesterday where the deal for Mangala might end up being actually up towards £50 million for Mangala. And what have we seen of Mangala at the moment? You know, he's poor. Would City have been better off going and buying a Scott Dan or a Ryan Shawcross, because they sure look way, way better than Mangala at the moment? But Mangala was that sexy name playing over in Portugal. They bought him in. He's flopped. It doesn't necessarily mean. And that guy makes some really, really fantastic points. You've got to be really, scout your players really well when you're bringing them in, because you can be bamboozled by records over in other countries. I mean, at the moment, Jackson Martinez is having a nightmare over in Spain. He's been killing it the past few seasons in Portugal. He's only scored a couple of goals in Spain for a team that's flying at the moment in Atletico Madrid. You know, you've got a scout player. And I was a big fan of Jackson Martinez. Would have loved to have seen him at Arsenal. But, you know, it doesn't always work out that way. And let's get one more in. Matt FM2U says, I don't think we need a striker for the rest of the season. Giroud has scored 18 goals. Let that sink in. 18 goals. Fantastic record by Giroud at the moment. Listen, I think whoever we get, let's be careful in the scouting of these players right now. You can get carried away in January, you know, because the sort of players that are available, you can get really carried away and end up buying players that you don't really need. I'm hoping Arsenal are doing this wisely. We've already got El Nene. Will they bring in another player? Will it be another defensive midfielder? And that's what I want to know from you guys. Do you still think that we need to sign a defensive midfielder? Leave it in the comments below and let me know. Also, don't forget to look out today. We've got some great videos coming up now. We're playing Chelsea at the weekend. The shots are starting to be fired from today. Right, trust me. So look out for some of the videos we got coming up with Chelsea, collaboration videos, all different type of videos. Make sure you check it out ahead of the big one this weekend when Arsenal take on Chelsea. Thanks for watching. We'll be back around about the same time tomorrow.